do? Yeah, fuck it, it'll do. Alright, sweet. She up and running? She is up and running. Nice. Alrighty. So I am continuing to base my Necrons, turning these guys into these guys. So all the other videos that I've done this week have been bringing them to this point through a bunch of different layers and levels. And now it's time to round their base out with some cool stuff. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make some little coils of barbed wire, like the Reanimator here has. So their bases are intended to be like Battlefield Rebel kind of wasteland stuff. Maybe an old Battlefield sort of thing. So I think the little coils of wire are cool, add a little bit of aesthetic to it. So I've got some super fine wire here. I believe this is jewelry wire. It's a nice size for these because it's still stiff enough to hold its own shape without being like super flimsy like a thread would be. So it's probably slightly too big, but it'll do the job. I also know that Army Painter makes coils of actual like micro barbed wire to use, but they're like $9 pop for a little piece, and it's like, ugh, it's not worth that to me. So I think these look pretty good and they do the job. So alright, so I'm gonna coil some of these up. So I'm just gonna use the back of a brush here and just sort of wrap it around. Just make little loops. Now I'm not worried about the tightness. Get on the camera. I'm not worried about the tightness here because we're going to be stretching them out and bending them around and stuff once they're in the base. Just want to get some on there like that. There we go. It's probably going to be enough for more than one guy. So I've got my snips here. So I'll ahead, cut through that. Alright, I'll pull it off, dense it down. So we're basically making a little spring. Widen it up. Widen it up. There we go. It's going to be a little uneven, but I mean it's supposed to be a battlefield, so it's not surprising. So I have 11 Necrons here. One from the first unit I did that I lost and had to replace. That unit's already based, so he's not going to get any wires. I'm going to set him off to the side. So that gives me 10 of these guys. The guys with the longer kind of swirly guns. So if I have 10 of them, I probably want to do like maybe 2 or 3 with wire on the bases. I don't want it to be a feature in every single model, but I want it to, you know, when they're standing there in that unit 10, I want it to be able to show up and be noticeable and not be like everybody has it kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick out 3 models to add to the base, to add the wire to the base. So this guy's going to be one of them. Let's see what else we got. We've got this guy. It's not a bad choice. He has a big opening area. That guy, I feel like his base is a little more closed off, so we're not going to pick him. Let's see, this guy. He's okay. I could put it like curling across the front there. It's not bad. We got this guy here. Put one going all the way across. That would actually be pretty good, so we'll choose him too. This guy. That dude, he wouldn't be bad with it. Let's see. Yeah, we'll pick this guy. There we go. So we'll put. No, we'll stick to we'll do the 3. We'll do the 3. Okay, so we've got our man right here. So we're going to break out our glue, which I lost. There it is. So this is Gorilla Super Glue Gel. This stuff is awesome because it doesn't run anywhere, even though it's kind of chunky. But if you're doing bases, I mean, I'm going to be slathering this thing in texture paint anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to put a dot of it like right here. And I'm going to set this down. My idea is to sort of curve it around like that. Go in between his legs. Like that. Let's actually make that curve a little bit more. There we go. Like that, and then we'll put some here on this point too. Help glue that down. I don't know if I'm on camera. I'm not. So, there we go. Give us a little bit of like what looks like a broken coil going around. Get it stuck to my finger and glue it there. Okay, now I'm actually going to slap some here in the middle, and when this dries it's going to be super visible, but I'm going to be covering it in texture paint, so it's not a big deal. So we're going to do that for these other two guys here, and then we'll get painting some rocks, and then we'll do some texture paint. So same thing again, just this one's going to be smaller, so we're going to start closer to the end and just wrapping it around. One thing you do when you're wrapping it, and make sure it doesn't go back on itself, because then you're going to sort of layers up and it looks weird. So there we go. Okay. Since I have that little bit left over, I'm going to use it. Okay, so we're going to squinch this down, get it good and tight before we stretch it out. Okay. So this one's a littler one. It's basically a super tiny little micro spring at this point. Just going to try to get it to spread out a little evenly. Sort of. Yeah, there's like this weird point with barbed wire where it starts looking like barbed wire and stops looking like coiled wire. It's really weird. Start our first glob there. This one's gonna go get in between his legs like that. I'm gonna glue it down here in the corner, and then we'll just put it out like that. That should be good. Alright, so there we go. So we have a little bit of barbed wire to walk over to. In retrospect, I probably should have painted the rocks first. Oh well. I was excited to do the little barbed wires on camera. So, alright, round 3 of wrapping wire. I totally screwed this one up. Alright, there we go. Okay. Kind of really screwed this one up, but I think it's savable. So there we go. I think that'll do it. we go, just spreading it out. Alright, nice. You can see where it doubled back on itself here and got screwed up at one point, but it's okay. It's not so bad that I don't think I should use it, so. Don't touch the top of the glue with your hand, it's not a nicety. Okay, so this one's going to go across the front here. Like he's yet to walk over it. So I'm going to put this end down, and then we're going to scrunch that up a little bit more. It's too loose. There we go. Oh, this one's really screwed up. Oh well, it'll be okay. Put that down, and we're going to wrap it around like that. Try to give it some. There we go. And it's going to hold that till the glue holds, or until the glue glues to my fingers. Okay, now we want to put another dot of glue because it's sort of riding up there in the middle. I want it to be lower than that, so. The surface area for the glue to connect to is not super big on these when you're doing this wire, which means that sometimes it's really hard to hold, or get it to hold rather. So yeah, like it's having a hard time holding. So we'll actually. There's always one problem, child, you know? Always one. There always is. There we go. We'll increase the amount of glue on it. I mean, we're going to be hitting it with texture paint anyway because we want it to look like it's sunk in the mud. So, the fact it's going to have some glue there is not really a big issue. We're going to cover over any of the globbing of the glue with texture paint. I mean, the point of texture paint is to add up and down surface area anyway. So, the glue will just help with that once it's dry. Assuming it ever dries. That's a chicken outside. Because of course there's a chicken outside at 8 p.m. Alright. I think it's sort of holding now. Okay. So there we go. We've got some barbed wire on about a third of them. And now we'll go ahead and we'll get painting those rocks. And it should be good. I'll stop moving my desk with my big old belly. Alrighty, so they got their little barbed wires on there. We're good there. Yeah. So next, we're gonna try to paint up the little rocks I did in the other video. And they're just little pieces of corkboard. So this stuff, broke it up and layered on and glopped on with some super glue. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint those up, and then they'll get texture paint, and then after they're top coated, they'll get little grasses. I think these are Badlands grasses, I think, technically, but I'm not 100% sure. Alright, here we go. So what I'm using for the rocks is Castle Gray. I'm not doing any like dry brushing or anything on them because I just kind of want them to be sort of ruiny. I don't really want them to be rocks, although I keep calling them that. So sort of the goal is to get them to be like that. Where, you know, there's little bits of it here and there. Because a lot of these Indominus Necrons, they have pieces on the bases. You know, that the guys are already standing on that are like rubble. So I wanted to extend it out and make it a little more rocky, So that's what they got. Alright, so I just totally stamped the top of that brush, thinking it was the back. Good job, me. Alright, so I'm just going to slap some paint on here. It's not going to be super pretty. I don't care if it overflows or anything like that. Texture paint's going to go next. I feel like my base game has been kind of weak, so I've been trying to up it. You know, normally I do like basically just texture paint and call it done. We on cam? Yeah, we're on cam. So trying to do little things without going too crazy. Some of my bigger kits recently I've done some fancier bases. I made a really fancy base for my Free Blade Knight I finished recently, and stuff like that, where I clipped apart a sort of bit store piece of terrain and used that. It was really nice, but it's not really the kind of modeling that you can do on, you know, just like the units, because it's a little bit too much for that. You know, when you have a unit of 10 guys or whatever, trying to get them all, having that level of base is a little bit too much, so. So, just doing a little bit. Trying to up my game slowly without going too crazy. So, the black rims on these I just sort of slapped on quickly. Because when I do the texture paint, it's certainly going to overflow, so if I overflow with the black or whatever, I don't really care. I'll hit it at the very end before I spray these guys. They'll get another round of black rim around them to sort of clean it up. Just going to do these rocks. I've actually gone and done these entire models on stream, so in the other videos they go from being completely gray to well, this stage obviously, and then anything past this. Really, this will probably be their last video though, unfortunately, because they've been fun. I had originally built a set of Indominus Necrons. Spin my ring around. I'd originally built a set of Indominus Necrons, the double guns, these guys. And when I built them, apparently I lost one somewhere. I still have not been able to find it. No idea where it is. They didn't go to the game shop or anything like that. So when I lost them, I ended up stealing a unit from the other runner, so I never built the other runner. And then I picked up the paint kit that comes with a couple of loose Necrons in it, because I wanted the basically all the paints in there are things I use anyway, so I was like, yeah, that's fine, I'll do that. And it gave me the Necron, so I'm finishing up the second set here. These guys are sort of what I consider hobby debt kind of projects that you sort of, you know, you have, and you might build like 90% of what's in a box, or you know, that one model you never actually intend to field, you know, some HQ that's in a box and you're just like, oh man, never want to use him, you know, or you know, you get a starter set because it's actually cheaper than buying the models on one side to buy both sides, and you're like, man, well, I'm never going to play Space Marines, so they're just going to go in the box or whatever. You know, so these guys are my hobby debt. They were my second runner of Skelly Boys. And now I am trying to finish up all that hobby debt before the holiday season. You know, who knows what happens then, who knows what crazy armies I'm going to be starting, or what battle boxes they're going to come out with, or, you know, stuff like that. So I kind of want to wrap up all the little bits and bobs that I have that could be, you know, that would just sort of like clog up the bins or whatever. It's like, I'd like to wrap them up. I'd like to spend a little time on them. So I've got these guys. I have a bunch of magnetized things because I magnetized all my large models. And some of my troops too. I magnetized some troops when it'll be fun to do it. Sometimes I super regret magnetizing troops, but... So I've got all these guys magnetized. Oh, there's too much water on there. No, I don't have these guys magnetized. I've got a bunch of other models magnetized, and they, you know, they're, you always end up with extra bits with those, you know, because you're like, oh, he looks really cool with this weapon or whatever, so you paint that one first. Or, you know, oh, my list wants him to have, you know, the axe of undoing or whatever the hell. So I'll paint that. You wind up with all this other stuff, and you're just like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to use these, but I magnetized them so I could. Now I have to paint them. And although I super mega love magnetizing stuff, I really mega hate painting the loose bits. It's like, it's one of these things I super hate. Like, this is my Nurgle Arminger that I'm working on right now. Try to get him in shot. And he's fully magnetized. Every piece of him is magnetized. His arms, his waist. This is magnetized. Like, everything on him is magnetized. And thankfully when you take the bit off, it's a big piece, so it's not a pain. You know, but if you have... Where is it? This is the hand from the Lord of Change. That's a pain in the ass to magnetize. It's not really to magnetize, but to paint. This sucks to paint by itself. So, you know, I've got this other hand here, and that sucks to paint by itself. So, what was I saying? So yeah, I have a bunch of those left over. I have some of those for my AdMech that I need to do. I have some for the 2 greater demons I've done recently. Bits from the Thirsty Boy, and bits from the Lord of Change. Yeah. So cool stuff. It's a little hobby debt to be working on. And then I have some more demons to work on, which is really fun. So I've got some demons of Slaanesh, and I've got some demons of Tzeentch to finish up. We've got a chariot and some HQs. Again, those kind of feel like hobby deck because they're things I'm not like super excited for. You know, like the chariot was. I got the Start Collecting box, and it's like the chariot was the unit I was least excited for, kind of thing. You know, but I should paint it up, can have it in case I want it ever on my list or whatever. So, plus it's, you know, painting is fun, and it's a fun toy. You know, because really painting is about sort of bringing out the story and the life in your toys, giving them a little bit of time and love, and, you know, bringing them to life. Yeah, some people just they do all these miniatures and stuff because they just want to play the game or whatever. But you know, a lot of it to me is the hobby. A lot of it's the storytelling and the little outlet for creativity. I'm thankful to have a very creative job, but Corona I have not been able to get to do it. So I've painted a lot of armies. I've done a full Skaven army, a full AdMech army, 7 Warcry teams, several 1,000-point Warhammer armies, or like 40k armies. I painted a lot of shit over this lockdown. Just because, like, I don't know. this is it's a nice way for my brain to calm down. So I enjoy doing it a lot. I was hoping to find a hobby group, more of a hobby group for Gunpla in Hawaii, because before I moved from the mainland, I didn't really do Warhammer stuff. I got into this just getting when I got out to the island. I did lots of Gunpla, and that's a lot of fun, and I super mega love Gunpla, but you know, without having a group to be excited about it, it's not as much fun. And also really the Warhammer stuff, it's like a super rush to be able to like put them on the table and see them there, you know, and everybody gets to see your work and be excited about it, and like, oh man, all your guys are painted, and you know, you get to have this cool little story where your dudes do stuff, and in my case they usually just die, but you know, that's cool too, right? You know, they get to have a little story where they try to hold a bridge and get blown to pieces, or take over a fort and get blown to pieces, or usually just get blown to pieces, you know, but it's cool. It's a good time. Alright, let's get some more of that. Some more of that Castle Grey. I love this Castle Grey. When Corona hit, my parents sent me a big box of paints, so all the hobby shops were closed. It was a super nice gift, and I was kind of going crazy not being able to pick paints for my projects, so they sent me this big box of paints, and it was really nice because it, you know, it sort of gave me that I can go and dig for paints the way I would at the hobby store, you know, go and look at the rack and see what's there kind of thing. It sort of gave me that at home, and it was really nice. But man, there are definitely, out of that huge box of paints, there's a few that have really emerged as sort of my heroes. One of those is Castle Grey. I use this thing for stone and cloth and rotten flesh, and it's just sort of this nice gray. It's got a little tinge of green to it, so I actually think it works really well for sickly flesh, without being like full-on Nurgle green. I think it's super good. So yeah, it's cool stuff. Alright, so I gotta be a little more careful here, but not super crazy. If I get some of the gray on the metal, it's okay. You're never gonna super see it. Okay. Now, I'm sure I probably missed a rock attached to somebody's foot somewhere, because all of these are the Indominus peg models. So one of their feet usually has a rock attached to it to add more stability. Oh, a little bit of that glue was still dry. I feel it on the brush. They're still wet. I will get that off. Give me a sec. Gotta pull that off. There we go. I am not, being super honest, I don't really know how to take mega good care of my brushes. And so to counter that, I just buy pretty cheap brushes. You know, I'll spend $20 and get a pack of like 30 of them off Amazon, and you know, they last a couple of weeks. That's amazing for like $1, you know. So these are that way. These are from like a 12 pack that was like $7 at Michael's or something back in the mainland. So if it gets a little beat up, ain't the end of the world. Am I still on camera? Yep, but I'm out of the golden triangle there. So let's fix that. So doing the bases for these guys and painting these models in general has kind of been one of those things I just wanted to get done. It's also been me learning a lot of the streaming stuff, so trying to get the hang of painting on camera and painting in the right spot and stuff like that. 'Cause I noticed when I sort of am left alone to paint, I paint really close. The model's like right here. Put both my elbows on the table like this and usually just go to town. But that's super mega hard to paint, or mega hard to film. Even though this is my preferred how I prefer to paint. So it's super hard to keep that on camera. So I'm trying to get the hang of painting further out from my body. Trying. Also trying not to move the table constantly with my big belly, but that one ain't working out. Ooh, that one's still very wet. Yee. Okay. There we go. Oh, come on, glue. You're being a pain. Why are you being such a pain in the tail, glue? Come on. Killing me here. Okay, that'll do. Alrighty. So let's look at this texture paint. I might have to add a little water to it. It might be too dry. Yep. Ironically, the desert texture paint is a desert on the inside. Let me get some water. I'll be back. So, I should probably technically use medium for this instead of water, but it's texture paint, so I don't really care. I'm just gonna kind of be shoveling it on there anyway. Alright, let's see how she's looking now. I have another one? Is this one just dead? Checking my GW paint box. I've been trying to move away from GW paints because out here on island they have a really nasty tendency to dry out for me, like this, case in point. So I'm moving to the paint dropper bottles, which don't have that trouble at all. Or they do have that trouble, but it's so drastically less. So we'll see if this is even actually usable. Might actually just have to go get some more of this tomorrow. GW bottles. Fucking hate you. Alright, let's see how it's gonna do. It's super soupy. Let's see how she looks. Now, I normally would never grab paint off of a table. But I mean, it's texture paint, so if it picks up some extra debris or whatever, I don't care. That's what it's designed for. So it gets some extra debris in it, it's fine. So my palette is now my cutting mat, because GW bottles are the fucking worst. They don't close right, and they fall over constantly. If only their colors weren't so good. But I've been trying to give them up. A couple colors I still have not found an equivalent for from other companies. Specifically Avalanche Sunset and Jacarero Orange, which are two colors I'm still ridiculously in love with. and use probably way too often. But they are probably my favorite colors. Yeah, this might work pretty good. It's going to definitely take more than one coat though with how gloopy this is, but I think with more than one coat I think this should be okay. The water in it, this is going to take longer to dry, so I don't know if we'll get to the second coat or not. See, there's a rock I forgot, so we'll hit it with this, and then so I'm going to do a pass on all the rocks again, probably, and clean up anyone that I think I painted too much. You know, could be neater applying this, but honestly, it's like dirt and sand and stuff and all, right? Like if it's not on their feet, what are they doing? You know, like I feel like it should always be on their feet and stuff, because otherwise, you know, they're not actually walking through anything. It's like they're hovering above it or whatever, and that's weird, you know? So I always like to make sure it gets on their toesies and stuff. You know, on the bottoms of the feet, on the, am I on the screen? Yep, okay, cool. On the other stuff I put there, like the rocks and all. I'll probably touch them up a little bit just to make them a little more gray so they stand out, but yeah. You always want it to be like they're standing in something and not just floating, you know? Imagine someone out there is dying and they're like, oh, that's so messy. But that's what I think's cool, you know? And that's one of the reasons I like to do a bunch of washes and stuff too, you know, like this is the 41st millennium, right? Like it's not a nice time. These people live in a horrible, horrible, horrible time to exist. Even these robots, you know, they're cursed to be robots forever, you know, and they're from, you know, they're made from living creatures that just wanted some equality and just wanted, you know, same kind of treatment that other things in the universe had. You know, ended up making some bad choices and becoming bad dudes, but you know, they're sort of those victims of just the horribleness of the world in Warhammer 40k. Am I on screen? Nope, off screen. Damn it. Oh, I'm trying, man. I'm trying to get a hang of it. Oh. Or a skeleton back so apparently. Alright, more desk paint. Because that's how we roll. Yeah, it's definitely going to take multiple coats, but should be good enough. And then when I get to the hobby store next, I'll pick another one of those up. I was debating actually going and getting these guys some reinforcements this weekend. Because they would be fun to play. And I really like the look of the six-eyed robo. He's really cool. And the big, like, Aunt Fanny junk in the trunk one's cool too. I was debating picking those up. But, man, I'm buying so much crap these days. It's insane. Like, monetarily not a problem, but you know, I feel like crap. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go buy this. Dude, I'm gonna go buy that, you know. It feels kind of crappy. But it's been a really shitty year. And I don't know. Hobbying and stuff has been a nice outlet. for the crappiness. Yeah, see how well, one, the paint's mega goopy, so the rims are getting mega goopy, but let's wash that off again. I don't know. What was I even saying? I don't remember. I'm trying, man. Root beer. So good. Alright. We got some scarabs. Oh, I want to give one of these guys some barbed wire. Alright, I'll do it after this coat. I'll do it before the second coat. Go. There we go. Oop. Might actually have to break out a smaller brush for these ones. Go. Alright, so that's first one of those done. Which one's my finished one? That's the one with the grass, okay. There we go. So the top coat I'm using for these guys is Rust-Oleum Dead Flat, which is amazing. By far the best top coat I've ever used. One of the problems with it though is getting a hold of it during COVID, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm going to bring out a smaller brush. A little bit of a pain in the tail. So these guys might sit for a little bit waiting to get top coated, but I'll get there eventually once it gets back in stock. Let's grab a smaller brush. They won't be getting their grasses and stuff until they're top coated, just because I don't know what happens if you have on screen. I don't know what happens if you have top coat over like little grass tufts, if it gets like weird and clumpy or if it looks okay. Never actually tried it. But yeah, I've just always held the grass tufts off until they were ready for it. So yeah. So that 3 Necron set with the paint that I mentioned earlier for replacing my lost Necron comes with 6 paints that are all common stuff, like Agraxar Shade, and there's a couple different types of metal paints in there, and there's the new glow paint, which I'm using for the fire for my Zinch Demons. That'll do for now. But you get 3 of them, and they come on a sprue like this, which is really cool. So they're all push fit, but they're mono weapons. They only have this single barrel gun, then the double barrel one. But it means that you get some extra ones if you're trying to replace guys. So I built this guy here without a base, and he's gonna go on the base of my reanimator. And he's just gonna go on like that, just to add a little more personality to this model, because I super love this War of the Worlds style walker, and I like the idea that it brings guys back to life. So I've got like a damaged guy there, and then I've got this beat up guy. He's gonna go like he's walking away, like he was damaged or something at some point. So I think it's a nice little bit of storytelling we're gonna try, because that's pretty much all the thing does, is just buff units, which is weird, but whatever. It also looks freaking cool. Let's see how they're looking. Oh, that's messy. Yeah, it's going to require several coats. Well, it's not dry yet, but might as well clump some more on there. Since I've got it on the table here, no point in letting it go to waste. It's just going to make it uglier. It's going to need a little bit more cleanup, but it's okay. I knew I had to repaint the rims at the very end anyway. So, go ahead and clump this through and then we'll let them dry. And I'll use up the rest of this paint here and then I'll probably call it for the night. I'll just use up what's left on the table. And then these guys will just get another coat and it'll be another coat, and then I'll probably clean up the rocks and then I'll do the rim and then they'll be totally done. Which is really cool. So go. There we go. Just gonna use up what we got. I'm not sure what the next thing I'll paint will be. It might be my Nurgle Armiger here. He might get the next thing I paint on cam. Or I might do another piece of hobby debt and maybe maybe do all the weapons for the AdMech guys I haven't painted yet. Or I should paint the AdMech flyers. That's what I should do. I've had... Oh, where's one of them? Oh. I've had these guys. They're awesome, freaking super cool models. All their bases are done. But I've had these guys for like months. They've been in like 60% done. I agree. I think I should do the hobby debt instead. Because these guys are just sitting in a pile right now. And like they're fully magnetized to their bases and they're super, super cool. And I love them. But man, I just start painting them and I have this like mental blockage in my brain and I'm just like, nope. Not painting this today. You know, I'll paint like 2 strips on their wings and I'll be like, no, I'm done. Guess I'm done painting today. And I don't know why I have that block, but dude, I do. I so do. So yeah, alright, they're what I'll paint next time. To figure out how to paint them on cam, actually. So they're kind of complex. As opposed to this, where I'm just like derping, slopping paint on there, like burp-a-dur. You know, it being super ugly and messy. But alrighty, well, I think that's the last of my spill. So I'm going to call it there. And I will show one of these guys fully completed up next time. I'm not going to bother streaming me painting back just black rims. Or doing another layer of hobby junk. Or texture paint junk. But thank you all for watching. And hopefully this was interesting. And next time I'll probably work on these guys. They're super cool. They have really fun rules, and I don't know why I have such a mental block to them, but I do. But I need to get them done. Get them done, get them with the rest of my army. Alright.